This is a test of the Boundary Park alert system. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of season 5 of the Boundary Park alert system with me, Matt Dean. I'm joined by my pal in the south, Andy Halliwell. You all right, mate?
Yeah, pretty good. You?
Yeah, good. Did you enjoy your trip up north last week?
I did. It was nice. Yeah, nice to come back home, see family and friends. Yeah, enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah. And we had a nice afternoon at Boundary Park.
We did.
Yeah. It was glorious, wasn't it? Sun was shining and there was so much going on. Lots of people around, loads of friendly faces. For really good atmosphere.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. It felt like everyone was together there, didn't it? Everyone pulling in the same direction. Lots of people. Yeah. Very warm, welcome, friendly environment to be in from everybody. Yeah, it was great. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so we're back. It's the week before the season starts. The friendlies are done. It's just finished 1-0 at Boundary Park. Latics have beat Shrewsbury in the final friendly of the season. I think on the whole, I don't know how much attention. Twitter. Oh my God, it's turned into an absolute cesspit. And I'm playing my part in that. I'm not going to lie, but it's let's just focus on Latics. But I've seen everything on there from absolute meltdowns, sack melon, just from the friendlies. But I think if you look at the 3 home games that we've played against established Football League clubs, Shrewsbury in League One.
They are, yeah. All 3 teams.
All
have
3
been
teams are in League One, yeah. So, and we've not conceded a goal against any of them. 1-2, drawn 1. I think that is the basis of to judge the pre-season friendlies. All right, the other games, the 2 Warrington games, Radcliffe, results and performances weren't great. But I want to talk about last week and our chat with Darren and Mickey and look at the friendlies. I've not been to any friendlies. I've not really been paying a great deal of attention because it doesn't tell you what you need to know for the season. The season tells you what you need to know. I'm going to take it fairly optimistically that like I've just said, those key points about clean sheets against League One opposition. Mike Fondop seems to have started scoring a little bit now, which is good. So there are always positives and negatives to take from it. But like I say, when it kicks off next week in anger, we'll really, really know. Just give me your sort of summary, having... I don't know if like me, you listen back to the interview because it's interesting listening to it back as a listener, because when you're involved in the conversation as well, you obviously come away with certain feelings and I came away with feeling quite good about it, to be honest with you. But how did you feel after listening to it and maybe listening to it back? What's your take on where we're at ahead of the next season?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, I've been on When the Blues this week as I post on the thread for people to discuss the podcast episode, and lots of positive feedback, some negative maybe from the way some of the questions are answered, but all the way we frame some of the questions. So I tackled it in the end a little bit because when you sat in a room like that, you can't. When you've been invited in, we're going to act as professionally as we want those guys to be in their jobs. You're not going to sit there and it's not Frost Nixon interview, is it? You're trying to have a conversation and see what you can tease out. And actually, often the telling parts can be in what people don't say versus what they do. So you have to listen to the subtlety of the answer to maybe read between the lines about what's going on. I'm pretty convinced Mickey Mellon doesn't want Alex Reid there. He didn't say that. He didn't need to. You just read between the lines. So I think I enjoyed the conversation. I mean, for those that that listened and weren't there in person, Mickey warmed up as the 80 minutes went on, didn't he? He was probably a little bit apprehensive to start. It was the first conversation we've had with Mickey. By the end of it, he was really, really warm and chatty, and his body language was very different. So. I came away from it feeling like we were in a better place. He didn't say these words to us. He has said them in interviews he's given to Alan, though, at the back end of last season. he hasn't got the squad together that he truly wants for now, because he is still beholden to contracts that are in place, and they're taking up a lump of the wages. And we also raised the fact that, you know, Kirk Willoughby and Joe Nuttall are out on loan, and we will be paying some of those wages. That's a fact. And that is all eaten into the budget. So he has, in effect, got his hands tied behind his back a little bit. And that's why I think when you look at the preseason friendlies, which are just friendlies, they don't really matter the results. None of them win, lose, or draw. But that's why when we played what you might class as the second string, we look quite a way off the pace. So I think that Mickey probably has assembled a reasonable first 11, first 13. But once you get beyond that, you're beginning to struggle, possibly to compete even at the top end of the League 5. So, you know, touch wood, we've obviously got 3 injuries at the minute in Garner, Norwood, and Kay. So hopefully those guys come back and we go injury free for a while, and we might start well with a bit of luck. So I think, you know, whilst none of the signings are necessarily like big marquee names, particularly like the Norwood was at the start of last season, they all appear to have good level of Football League experience behind them, and we should do all right. And he kept referencing last week, didn't he, as he's done in interviews before, about having the right character to play at Latics, because partly of the size of the club, you know. So if you come from this is like the Josh Lundrum conversation he said. If you come from an Altrincham to Latics, it's a distinct step up in football club size, and if you're not used to it, you might take some time to adjust. Most of the players he's brought in are used to playing at clubs of our size, so therefore they should be able to handle that from the terrace. So yeah, I'm you know, I've ebbed and flowed a bit, but I'm sort of quietly confident going into the season that we're going to do better than last. And just to round that off, if you think about last season, I think we thumped Chorley 6-1 in a friendly, didn't we? So you
can't remember.
We did. I think we did. So you know, while people are bemoaning losing to Southport or throwing a 3-0 lead away against Warrington Town or whatever it is, we thumped Chorley 6-1 last year, and opening game of season got an absolute tanning off Southend. So I think I feel we're going to be much sturdier this season. We may not be absolutely brilliant to watch, and it may be a bit of a grind at times, but I feel like we'll do better. It's another season where we'll incrementally do better.
Yeah, I mean, having that conversation and with Mickey and Darren, and Mickey's given us some context. You know, he's been at Boundary Park as an opposing manager. He's been here when the previous owners were in and things were as they were. So he's seen a difference, you know, from, it's not like it's, you know, when he walked through the doors at Boundary Park on that first day, it was his first time here. He's got experience of the club. He knows what Oldham's all about, and he's seen that transformation. We've seen that transformation when we were there the other day. I mean, you can imagine now. I don't know if you've been to Altrincham, Andy, but like it's a proper little shed of a ground, and it's a small club. And no disrespect to them, because they're doing great. You know, they're doing really, really well. They're firing probably above their pay grade, if you like, at the minute. But you know, they're well run and they play good football. But as a place and as a football club, it's not. It doesn't feel like that much of a step up from, like, you know, Chaddy FC. I know it's got a couple of stands extra, and you know what I mean. So it's like, yeah, it is a big, when you're going to Boundary Park in the summer, like we did this, with the pitches looking immaculate, there's all those people buzzing about, there's all that work going on, there's the players' lounge, the food, you know, the whole thing. Like it's you know, it's impressive. But I think what that does, I think, is it puts us in or a lot of supporters into a false sense of where we are in terms of the stature and the rebuilding of the football club, because, like you pointed out on the podcast this week, the amount of money that's gone in just to secure the club, to buy it, to start putting together, you know, essential infrastructure, etc., etc. That money is not all being spent on the playing budget. And from Mickey Mellon was saying very clearly last week that he wants to assemble a team that is going to take us through the leagues and gather some kind of momentum. And if you look at the teams that have done that in recent seasons, Salford City, Stockport County, Wrexham, they've spent an absolute fortune at this level, and they've gone into some serious debt, and way over budget. And all right, it's paid off insofar as it's got them out. Well, it has in the case of Stockport and Wrexham, it's got them out of League Two and into League One. That's not where we're at. We're not going to be spending that kind of money on players to do that. So Mickey Mellon's job, and it is over the next 3 seasons. He's got a 3-season deal to work, or a 3-year deal to work at building up that squad. And that means that it might not be this season where we get out of this division. It might be next season. But the plan is to get us out and kick on as quickly as possible. And I feel like that work is being undertaken now. It clearly, as much as we wanted it to work under Unsworth, because we wanted that continuation, we wanted it to build season on season and everything. We've had to scrap it. We've fallen a year behind, unfortunately, and we're having to start it again. So while things around the club have improved, like you said, we're still holding on to players that just aren't good enough to do what Mickey Mellon wants them to do. And so I think this season, we've got a better squad. I think we'll finish in a better position. I fancy us to. We'll get on to predictions and that, but I'm quietly confident that things are being done. The right things are being done in the right places around the club, not just in the playing staff. They've had to change the other people around the club and everything else. The attitude is getting better. Mickey Mellon's imprint as a manager is starting to be felt across the club. And we just have to get behind it because there's not really anything else we can do. But yeah, I came away feeling quite confident.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well. I mean, if you look at last summer, the first 3 signings that Unsworth and Thompson made were Kurt Willoughby, Josh Lundstrom, and Dan Ward.
Yeah,
2 of them have gone.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
And so it all came down to recruitment, didn't it? And then if you look at this summer, like Reagan Ogle aside, like you look at the players that he's brought in. So Harry Charsley, 68 games at Mansfield, 26 at Port Vale, 48 at Newport County. All right, not like a household name, but a decent amount of games in the Football League. Manny Monthe, let's have a look at him. Manny Monthe, he's going to play a lot more. 108 games at Tranmere, 81 at Walsall, 34 at Northampton in League One last season. It feels like it's a different calibre of player that he's signing. And alongside the likes of Tom Conlon that came before, and Charlie Raglan should be, and probably showed in glimpses last season. Obviously, Ollie Hammond and Jez Uchegbalam are young lads by comparison, but he's seen something in them as well. It just feels like we'll be a bit better. And I don't know if you go on social media today, there's plenty of positive sort of comments about the way that we've set up, been difficult to break down. Like you said, a League One opposition, we've pressed higher up the pitch. And when the likes of Norwood and Garner come back, I'm still a big fan of James Norwood. On his day, he's that Chesterfield home game last season, he basically ran it on his own. He's got to be up for it, hasn't he? He's one of those players. He's a bit moody, and when he's on song, he's a difficult. It'll be difficult for opposition defenders to play against. If we give him better service because we've got a better midfield was our problem last season. And if we put that right, then he should score a lot of goals. So we could do well. I'm expecting us to do better. We could actually do much better, I think. Again, we'll get to predictions in a minute, but I think there is an outside chance that we do much better. I think there's a very good chance that we do a bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so. I think a lot of it is about mentality, and like we've talked about many times about culture and how that changes. And it's obviously something that's been identified by Mickey Mellon. And he's basically said that, he wants his eyes there when he's not there. He wants the influence of Mickey Mellon to be on the players and within the rest of the infrastructure at the club. You can't argue with it. Whether it works or not, we'll have to see. You were saying about, the types of questions you answer people, and we're always going to be respectful of people. You're not going to go into a situation like that and start being an arsehole and asking stupid questions. Also, because I've no need to. Like, we made a decision, didn't we? That we said, well, will we talk about last season at all? And you said, no, let's just leave it. Like, it's been and gone. We are where we are. Let's move forward. And we're going into this season. We want to be positive, like we are every season. Fresh start. There has been reasons in the past to not be confident. There's reasons in the past to go into this season think next season this is going to be an absolute nightmare. This season isn't one of them. It feels like it should be better. Well, like we said to Mickey Mellon and Darren Moore, we've got to win that first game on to Braintree. That will set the tone in the mindset of the fans. We had that conversation with them about, we have it all the time. We have it on the phone in all the time. We have it with fans all the time. And Mellon said, didn't he? We've got to play our part. We've got to win the games. So I don't know what the atmosphere was like today amongst the supporters. It's a friendly, so it doesn't really matter. But, that first game against Braintree, we win that game, then it could feel like, okay, and then you literally have to take it one game at a time, don't you? It's the old adage.
The Latics Football phone-in is back on the 7th of August and every following Wednesday at 8:30pm. It's the only Latics live stream where you get to give your views and opinions and the opportunity to chat with the one and only sexy Dave Bradley. Visit weareoldham.co.uk and watch on YouTube at Oldham Fan Media.
If we go back to, I've just got the squad pod. Mine, yours, Dave's efforts on the squad pod at the back end of last season to see what he actually did after what we said, and he's pretty much done everything that we agreed. He's basically released everybody that we would have released, apart from he's re-signed Mike Fondop and he's re-signed Dan Gardner. And he's kept all the players that we would have kept. We actually transfer listed 6 players when we did it. We transfer listed Liam Hogan. Well, he also wants to get rid of Liam Hogan. That's pretty clear. Dan Ward, he got rid of Dan Ward. Mark Shelton, he got rid of Mark Shelton. That's another one gone. Kurt Willoughby, got rid of Kurt Willoughby. Joe Nuttall, he got rid of Joe Nuttall. And Alex Reid, he wants rid of Alex Reid. And I look at it and I think, it's pretty close to what we said. And for me, if you recall, on our squad pod, we kept Nathan Sheeran, but that was only because you and Dave wanted to keep him. I wanted to get rid of Nathan Sheeran, and lo and behold, hey!
And they were, he was under contract. He'd just been given a new contract, so I guess we kind of figured that he wasn't going to be getting rid of.
Well,
he's gone.
I wanted to transfer list him, and that's exactly what he did. For me, I'm looking at it, and pretty much everything that I wanted to occur has occurred. I wouldn't have re-signed Mike Fondop, but as you've just pointed out, he's the only person scoring in pre-season at the minute. And on his day, he can be a handful. He can also be a handful getting sent off and doing stupid things. So hopefully Mickey keeps that under wraps. But that's what makes me feel reasonably confident as we go into the season. And obviously he said to us, didn't he, that there's maybe 2 or 3 more that he'd like to sign, and that might be incumbent on some leaving. We don't know, but they're probably going to try and dip into the loan market. So the season may well kick off a week or 2 and run up to the end of August before we see that, when the Football League transfer deadline finishes. I don't think it's any real secret that they'd love to get Josh Stones back. I don't think there's a cat in hell's chance of that happening right now. But if Wigan sign another centre forward or 2 before the 1st of September, which you can't rule out, then you never know. We might get a 6-month loan out of him or a season loan out of him, and that will make a big difference. Because that's the only thing for me that's missing is a bit of young legs up top. Because you've got the granddad pair, and you've got Mike Fondop, who's not, I would say, reliable. We've obviously shipped out Kurt Willoughby and Nuttall. He doesn't want Alex Reid, which I think is probably the right decision. So we probably do want a bit of legs up front. I mean, that brings me on to other things that we've noticed. Like, did you notice Zach Emerson, who was in our youth team and got sold to Brighton a few years ago? He's ended up at Halifax because the Halifax head coach obviously had him in the youth team at Latics. You raise an eyebrow at that and wonder whether he could have been like a Josh Stones or not. I don't know. Obviously, we didn't fancy him. Lytton Chapman, one of the lads that we ended up releasing in the squad pod, just looking down the list. I remember saying, there's got to be one of these young kids that we want to keep. I don't know which one it is, but surely we want to keep one of them. Well, that Lytton Chapman's just gone to Wigan. So obviously they've seen something in him. I guess you'll never, like Darren said, you'll never get them all right. You know, you'll release players you shouldn't have, and you'll sign players you shouldn't as well. So I guess we've just got to see what the next month brings in terms of maybe one or two more coming in. I have heard a rumour this week that Liam Hogan turned down the opportunity to go to a National League club, which could have been on loan. So he seems to be staying. In fact, while we're here, we've clipped a clip from a podcast that he appeared on, chatting about where he's at Latics. Do you want to play that now?
Their fan base is so dedicated to the club, so passionate, that
it's got the potential.
I understand. Listen, it's got potential to be even further than Stockport because of the numbers generated from where they've been. Obviously, the Premier League, which they can go all the way back to like the 1993s and that. To like now has been a bit of a.
You look at Wrexham, you look at Stockport, and they had to kind of start again and build the backroom staff.
Yeah,
I feel like Oldham have got to do that again.
Yeah, no, I agree. And obviously, with if you say to Stockport, they had so many things right off the field.
Yeah,
that makes winning look or hope or. It's a process.
Yeah.
It definitely is a process. Obviously, I've been told now, listen, I triggered a new deal last season off the back of playing. I think I played nearly 40 games, and it was a failure. And obviously, I front that as the captain.
A failure is in what? Like,
as in, there's expectation there, and there's expectation with me as a senior player within a group that I think what was in that group should have done better. Should do better. But that's no disrespect to any teams that have got a lesser name in their title than Oldham, because they've done the work.
You just think with that team you should have done
I just think
better.
With that team we should be
doing better.
Yeah, doing better. But then that goes back to the process.
Yeah.
That has to go back to the process, because you know, you can go out there and have X, Y and Z on paper.
Yeah.
But there's a process. Do you know what I mean? I feel
without getting too deep.
Yeah, I feel like there was others this year that rightfully probably deserve to go into them spots above us. Whereas we're looking at it, thinking of the names that are in there. Obviously I've been in that league before, and I'm seeing those names in there, and I'm thinking, you know, what's gone on here?
Yeah.
What I've got around me, you know, what this club is, what the fan base is. Yeah, there's things that, and I think he's going to do that now. And part of it is obviously I've been told, look, needs a new face. And I was having a joke with you before I went to Turkey, and they were selling teeth and hair transplants, but I couldn't get a new face, so I can't come back in disguise. But what I will do is I'll come back, and if anybody knows me that's close to me will know that, you know, I'm passionate that I want jobs finished. Whether I was told at Salford, at Stockport, at all these clubs, you're not going to be involved as much as you want to be. You know, I'll set my stall out again and just say, look,
come back and prove
everyone
wrong.
Myself.
The door's never shut.
Door's never shut, and listen, motivation never goes away, and you need to find a new one, and that's just perfect for me. And I want to be able to listen. There's things like, I don't know whether any players have had 3 promotions out of the National League. You know, I look at things like that, just little things that drive me.
Yeah.
You know, has anybody, you know, I'd been a successful, I won't be a captain next year now, but has anybody been involved in Salford, Stockport, Oldham? You know, they might have played for them clubs, but have they been promoted with them clubs? You know, I want to look back and say that's what happened at them clubs.
And captain them clubs.
And captain them, yeah. So I think I've done a good job up until this
Brilliant,
point.
Mate.
Okay, so Liam Hogan there. Where did you get that clip from, Andy?
That was on a podcast called the I Had Trials Once podcast, which is a show done by 2 lads called Jordan and Gaz, who are former footballers, and they interview people on a week-by-week basis. So an interview done with Liam Hogan, I just clipped a short part of it there. It's quite interesting to listen to him sort of talk, isn't it? About part of me thinks, when I listen to him, good on him, you know, like he's going to get stuck in, and you know, he's obviously a professional. I think he's obviously is quite a good guy to have around his dressing room.
Yeah.
But then the other part of me thinks, it's really annoying that he's hanging on when he's taking up a squad place of someone else that could be brought in to improve us, and he probably isn't going to play that many games, is he?
I think the thing is with him, the one thing you can't deny about him, if he comes off the bench or whatever, he comes on and he's in the right frame of mind, he's up for it, and he gives his best. And players like that, and sometimes as well, characters around the club and around the ground hold standards and stuff like that. You'd expect him to be one of those people. So he talks well, and from whenever I've heard him speak, he's not going to go unless he gets a better offer, is he? He's at that stage in his career now where he's going to want to try and cling on to the best he can, and like he said there, he's got that achievement of potentially 3 promotions, which he obviously really wants. So we'll see what happens. But if you want to listen to the full interview there, it's the I Had Trials Once podcast. You can go in and listen to the full hour with Liam Hogan. So anyway, we've reached about half an hour now, Andy. We're closing in. This is not going to be a full hour as we've not got a game to talk about, etc. So let's move on to that kind of prediction for the coming season. I think we've both had it. Go on.
I was just saying before we do, like the only things that you could think about. I think there were 2 trialists played today. One of them, I think, is Otis Khan, who's been around the club for a couple of weeks. So it looks like the club might fancy him. And there was the goalkeeper, something worth just talking about for a minute, because I feel like the Josh Stones. That link kind of won't go away. We know that Wigan have been sniffing around Matt Hudson. I don't know. I know nothing. I'm just speculating. But it feels like there could be a bit of a deal possibly to be had further down the line. Where that leaves you a bit cold is, I don't know what. I mean, Mickey Mellon's interview after the Warrington Town game in the week, I think he said about Magnus Norman. I don't know what the matter with Magnus is, and he wasn't involved today.
It was some shocking goalkeeping, wasn't it? Even for a friendly, I mean, it was very poor.
You kind of worried for the lad, really. Like his head's obviously not in the right place.
Exactly, that's his head, purely his head. So whatever's going on there is.
But you'd imagine in the squad pod at the back end of last season, we all said keep Magnus Norman as backup for Matt Hudson. I'm not sure you'd be in that point of view now. And obviously, we're looking at a trialist keeper. I don't know who the trialist keeper was. I think we had. I don't know whether it's the same one. We had a trialist keeper. I think was a guy called Scott Maloney, who was at FC United recently. I think he might have been the trialist. I'm not entirely sure whether he still is. So we're obviously looking at that. But if we got rid of Matt Hudson, in order to try and find him as a make way for Josh Stones, pure speculation on my part, we're going to need a keeper, aren't we? Because you wouldn't want to be going into the season with Magnus Norman at the minute.
I mean, it seems to me in this division, like obviously we've struggled with midfielders and stuff, but not just in this division, but getting a good first team goalkeeper is not easy. We've had some shockers over the last few seasons. Hudson, he got his break last season, didn't he? And so you'd expect him to be better again this season with the season experience behind him. So I'd be reluctant to let him go unless there was a significant improvement on Norman to come in and stand behind him. We need someone as good as Hudson. He's not perfect, but he did well last season. So I'd be happy to keep him.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I'm quite. Shall I go first on my prediction for the season?
Yeah, by all means.
So I think back to my prediction last season when I went third, go up in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think that was heart ruling head probably.
Yeah,
and hope that Unsworth had signed well, and then subsequently we learned he hadn't. I think this season, having finished 10th last year, I think this season I'm pretty confident we'll make the top 7. I think realistically, if you look at the business that Forest Green have done, because Darren made a good point last week, and often teams come down out of League Two in turmoil. Well, neither of the two teams, Sutton or Forest Green, have got any ownership or financial problems that we can see. They just assembled a poor squad for League Two last season. Forest Green have signed Ben Tozer from Wrexham, this big centre half who helped them get promoted to League One last year. So you'd think that Forest Green are going to be up there. Barnet I think Barnet have signed like 3 of Braintree's players that got up from the National League South last year, so as well as Mark Sheldon. So I think they've done a lot of business. They'll probably be up there. I can't. Southend, their ownership has been sorted now. They're obviously a little way behind in terms of signings and preparation, but
we said that last season, mate.
with a 10-point deduction, they still finished in front of us. So I think Southend are going to be up there. So I'm going to go 4th. I think we're going to finish 4th.
Right. I was just going to say then we should have both put our hands up before we said it, so that we knew like what we were both going to say beforehand. So we weren't sort of like, But yeah, I mean, Mickey and Darren both said they want to win the league, and I think that's the right attitude to go into every season with, especially club of Latics stature, blah blah blah. Got to be aiming to win the league because you want to win every game. You win every game, you win the league. I think all those points you made about those clubs are fair. When I look at last season, we finished 10th, and I look at how close we were to a playoff finish, even though we played so badly and finished the season so poorly. The playoff doesn't seem like it should be too much of an issue this season. I fancy us again for a top 7 finish. I was going to say, I'd like to finish higher, but 5th is my prediction for this season, because again, I think there are just other teams that are ahead of us in terms of their squad development.
QPod is Oldham's only professional podcast production company. This year we produced a variety of shows with Northern Roots Oldham, Oldham Community Radio and fantastic local charity Little Lady Locks. We've helped local businesses like NB Dog Training, 1853 Studios and Billingtons produce their very own podcasts. Be sound with QPod. Visit kupod.co.uk.
Here he is. He's made it.
Hello.
Just in time. All right, Dave.
Yeah, apologies.
No, it's all right. We're just doing the predictions now. I've got a dash in 5 minutes. So Andy's just done his. Andy's gone for 4th. Right. I've gone for 5th.
Yeah.
Right. But but what do we know? The oracle of football has arrived. So, Dave, you tell everybody where we're actually going to finish this season and why.
Ready for a drum roll? 11th.
One place below where we finished last year.
Yeah.
With an improved squad.
Well, I think we're a couple of signings off.
But we've got
10th.
But we've got rid of the midfield maestro that you worshipped in Nathan Sheeran.
Yeah,
of course, we're going to finish higher.
I just think we'll be 11th. I think we need, with Norwood being out and Joe Garner being out, I think we're going to have quite a slow start, despite Mike Fondop scoring 8 against Warrington. It's fine. It's totally fine. But he scored against Shrewsbury today. Just did okay. I don't know. I just can't see it. I think it's another year to gel, and then next year will be our year.
No, you've missed the first 35 minutes of this podcast record, and you're totally off plan. Everyone should ignore this man. He doesn't know what he's talking about, as he's proven many times before.
Many times, yeah.
Well, hopefully I'm totally wrong and we'll go up. So,
are you taking this approach as a way of managing your own mental health and expectations this season, Dave?
Yeah, it's complete Schadenfreude.
We're
going to win. We're going to be promoted.
In our first season in the National League, your prediction was it was going to be us and Wrexham all the way.
I think Forest Green have signed some very, very good players, and they are not to be. I just think they're just on a plan just to go straight back up, and they've got the finances, the resources in. What's he called? Is it Vince Dale? Dale Vince. Yeah, he's going to really push the boat out to get them back up. With Mission signing Dan Gardner again, still baffled by that one. But if he can keep fit, then so be it. I think we are a midfielder missing. I think the defence is looking pretty good. But I just think the strike force is a little bit lightweight with the injuries to Garner and Norwood, and the first 3 or 4 games, it's going to be 10 games before them two get really fit and get going. So we'll have to see. And with Norwood's form towards the end of last season, not scoring at home since I think it was it New Year's Boxing Day against Hartlepool. It's worrying.
With a better supply line from midfield, that lad should score 25 goals for me.
Oh, he scored plenty. He scored plenty last season, but there was a lot from the penalty spot. But again, it's that supply line in it, and that lad from Rochdale who just said, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name.
Jez,
Big Jez. I think he looks all right. That Chandler looks all right. Okay, yeah, it's positive, but I think it's going to be a year for gelling. If I'm honest with you, so apologies.
No, it's all right, Dave. It's all right as long as you're wrong. That's the main thing. I don't know. Are you looking forward, lads, to this? I mean, it sounds like Andy, your prediction of us finishing 4th, that you would be looking forward to it more than Dave's, who's predicted 11th. Is that Andy? Dave, sorry. Are you looking forward to next season at all, or
I think
are you dreading it?
I'm not dreading it. I just think everyone's just got to manage their expectations, because the atmosphere last season at points was horrendous, weren't it? So I think this season, if we don't start strong, they're going to really and I don't know. Well, I'm going to mention it. With Pete Wild out of a job, Mickey Mellon's on an hiding to nothing anyway, because everyone will just start calling for his head and calling for Pete Wild to come back in. There's no chance Pete Wild's ever going to come back to a National League club, is he? He's not going to come back to us because he's a Football League manager. So I want to try and nip that one in the bud, because Mickey Mellon, the interview that you did the other week was brilliant with him. He wants to be gritty. That game management is the bit for me, and we're just winning at home. If you can get that right, then we'll be on to a winner. But I think if we draw against Braintree, oh my God, I can hear the urine bubbling as we speak.
Dave, you were getting a little bit sort of
apathetic,
negative towards some of Mickey Mellon's tactics and stuff. Like, you weren't the only one. My brother was the same. I mean, I was trying to say, look, it's he's inherited all these players, 3 different managers, blah blah blah. I want to give him a bit of time to put his own imprint on it. Are you going into this season with a clean slate now on the Mellon
totally.
front, or are you going to take some resentment in with you from last season?
As Andy just said, he's cleared out the dross. Harrison McGay in midfield at Altrincham away last season, it did it for me, and that was it. Square pegs round holes. He's now, he's obviously put the round pegs in the round holes. They're all his signings. That Manny Muth, he's an absolute mountain, isn't he, at the back?
Manny Mountain.
Yeah, Manny Mountain. But the players that he signed are good National League players, like Shearing. I was sad to see him go, but let's face it, he wasn't good enough. He wasn't. Fondop surprised me, re-signing Fondop, because I thought there was potentially more options out there. But again, it's maybe just going to show what the restricted budget that we may be on. But allegedly, 2 league clubs came in for Fondop. And I think the location was one of the factors why he stayed. You just don't know. Nice to see Reid back in the fold, because I think we desperately missed him towards the end of last season.
Absolute nonsense. Get rid of him. Not good enough.
I don't know. He offers something different. And if that's what we've got, that's what we've got.
That different isn't good enough.
But not playing him at all.
When we needed strikers.
That's what.
Look, I mean, he said to us, Mellon, didn't he, that obviously Reid wasn't doing what he expected him to be doing. I guess exactly, now he is, yeah. and he's back in the squad. So we'll just have to see. Well, look, lads, go on, Dave.
All is forgiven though for last season, but just by God, win some home games, Mickey. God's sake.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to have to dash, lads. But okay, so Andy's gone for 4th. I've gone for 5th, and down in the murky depths of 11th is Dave.
Sorry, just a quick one, Matt. Have a good time at the Reform party tonight that you're going to. That's why you have to get off.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, mate. Right, and on that bombshell,